but at least I think we still kept your attention, and we kept it interesting. But the feedback is what will ensure that we move forward and we can become better in what we're doing. I will be sharing, I'm not sure, is there? Okay. I think my settings have been changed. Bridget, are you able to, because it says I can't share, only meeting organizers can share.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, can you just change my status? Thank you.
I just changed you to a presenter.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Today, we will be looking at the concepts, the economic concepts within real estate. So we'll be talking into interest rates and inflation, what is a buyer's market versus a seller's market, and the competitive real estate market. And what we will also do, we will leave it for tomorrow, the estate agency, so the legal aspect, the legislations, and the Estate Agency Affairs Act, and the general legislative environment will deal with that tomorrow. So today we'll touch on this. Time allowing, we'll also look at the stakeholders and a little bit of the deeds office. What do we mean about the concepts? The concepts that are very important is the concept of a supply, the supply relationship. I think in any market, this is very important. Wherever you are, it is important that you understand how the supply relationship, the demand relationship, and how they come together. So the supply relationship states that the law of supply demonstrates that the quantity will demonstrates the quantity that will be sold at a certain price. So if you look in here at P1, which is a particular price, this is the quantity that sellers or manufacturers will be prepared to sell and put in the market. The approach means that the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied. As you can see at point C, the reason why it's happening, suppliers attempt to maximize their profits by increasing the quantity offered for sale. So when the price is this high, everybody would like to actually be selling, and it attracts more people to enter into this market, especially from a supplier's point of view. Supply in a market can be depicted as an upward sloping curve, as we can see in here, which shows that the quantity supplied will respond to the various prices over a period of time. Does this make sense? Anyone has a question on this particular concept before we move on? Okay. The next concept that we'll be looking at is the demand relationship. The law of demand says if all other factors remain equal, the higher the price of a good, the less people will demand that good. A market demand curve expresses the sum of quantity demanded at each price are called consumers in the market. As you can see on our right-hand side, that at price A, due to affordability, a lot of people will have a demand for this particular product. But as the price of the product increases, then the demand continues to decline, as you can see up to level C. The reason is that the demand is derived from the law of diminishing marginal utility. The fact that consumers use economic goods to satisfy their most urgent needs first. So as consumption increases, the marginal utility derived from each additional unit declines. Basically, what this says is that as you consume, so for example, if you buy a particular, let's say you decide that, okay, I will be buying shoes on a sale, for an example. As as someone who starts working, shoes are an important thing as far as ladies are concerned. But then as you continuously buy shoes, then you have so many pairs in your wardrobe. You start thinking about, okay, maybe now I should consider looking at saving towards buying a car or something to that effect. So you've satisfied the need for shoes, and then you start looking at other things. So as you get your satisfaction out of a particular product, then your demand also diminishes. And you're like, you know what, instead of spending my money on this particular thing that I have, let me just shift my focus and look at something else. The shape and magnitude of demand shifts in response to changes in consumer preferences, incomes, or related economic goods, not necessarily to changes in price. So to a certain extent, the affordability is an issue, but also one of the major things is the satisfaction that people get from a good. And when your income increases as a particular individual, you start changing the things that you are looking for or you are demanding from the market. The importance of the law of supply and demand. This is going to explain the impact of these two curves that you just had a look at, the supply curve going up and then the demand curve going down. Supply and demand set the price and the amount of a good that will be produced. As demand increases, the available supply also decreases. At the equilibrium point, the market price for a given good ensures that the quantity of goods supplied is equal to the number of goods demanded. So if you can look on our graph here, as we said earlier on, that suppliers, for an example, when the price is low, they're not really interested in selling that product. There are suppliers who will supply, but not many people, because when they look at it, it's not they're not going to maximize their profits. But then on the other hand, when the price is low, there is huge demand in terms of that particular product. So you find that then you will have a shortage in the market, because this is what is being supplied, but this is what is currently being demanded. And then as the price increases, it attracts more suppliers to enter the market. But then at the same time, as the price increases, fewer and fewer people afford to actually to purchase or consume this particular product. So at this point, where the supply curve meets the demand curves, that's what we call the equilibrium point. That's where we say that the market is at an equilibrium. It's perfect. There is no shortage and there is no supply of a particular good. So that particular price is where you will make sure that all the needs are satisfied and all the suppliers are also able to actually sell their products. But then, there are always movement in the market. Therefore, you will never, you can achieve that for a certain period of time, but then, as you actually find yourself at equilibrium, then the suppliers then will say, oh, okay, this product is actually selling, let me also enter the market. And then the supply increases, but the demand is not in there. So you find that now you find yourself that the product is actually a surplus in the market. And eventually, some suppliers will eventually leave this particular market because they are not necessarily selling as they would have wanted to. And, so in a way, the market corrects itself. So at this point, we say that prices are perfectly set to interest consumers to purchase goods. And at the same time, you ensure that companies produce neither too much nor too little of a product. The assumption behind a market economy is that supply and demand are the best determinants for an economy's growth and health. So this then takes us to the concept of scarcity and choice. Before I move on are there any questions on the law of supply and demand? how these two curves, or how when these two principles come together and determine what happens in the market. Okay, let's move on. And then another concept that we also look at is the concept of scarcity and choice. Scarcity means that people want more than is available. So basically what it means is that there are limited resources, even for an individual. When you actually come up with your budget, there is a lot. So you have unlimited wants, but then your resources in terms of your salary, your money in the bank account, or your savings, whatever it is limited. So you won't be able to fulfill all your wants. Therefore, that creates an element of scarcity, because now they are these wants which are in the form of goods and services, but because of your limited resources, not all of them can be fulfilled. What happens in a market when there is a scarcity of goods and services? So you will look at it as that these are the suppliers with their resources, and these are the ones. So this is more the demand side of things. This is the supply side of things. So you have the scarcity. And then the problem, you say we economize the problem, and you look at the various choices that can be employed to actually try and solve the problem that we are faced with. So the first one is economic growth. Like we said earlier on, that you will find new entrants into the market from the supply point of view. So that's where the entrepreneurs will come in and start also maximizing the profits and taking advantage of whatever opportunities are provided in that particular market. And then what also happens is that because now there are new entrants, whoever was already in there, or even the new ones, when they come in, they will also want to have a competitive advantage because they knew, so they know they're going to compete with suppliers that were already in the market. What competitive edge can they bring to the table? So what happens is that they study the market and figure out what was not working properly. So this results in the improved use of the available resources. This results in efficiency because of the competition, and therefore there's better use even for the older suppliers who were the initial entrants into the market. They start honing up their horns and sharpening their horns and making sure that they can provide better products than what was already in there. And then in some instances, what happens is that another choice that happens is that because of the scarcity, then, from the demand side, people start looking for alternatives. What can we do if this particular product is not available? Suppliers can only do so much, but then what will happen is that people will look, or the consumers will start looking at different options, substitutes for those particular goods and services, in a way reducing the one side of things. Scarcity without choice. This means we must choose which of our needs we will fulfill and which we will leave unfulfilled. And then the concept of scarcity and choice means that when there is scarcity and choice, there is always a cost. The cost of any choice is the option that a person gives up, which we usually refer to as the opportunity cost. So real estate as well has scarcity. If you can see this side, trying to explain the opportunity cost, what really it means. You have limited hours in a day. As a student, for an example, you are sitting here now going through this study material with us. You've sacrificed 3 hours where you could have probably watch some sport. I understand the sports is coming back in some countries, so you could be watching some sports, or you could be doing other things, watching TV or reading a book, but then you are in here. So the 3 hours the 3 hours that you are spending studying, sitting with us here at Bemore, Is the opportunity course is the 2 hours of watching sport or cooking or helping the children with homework that you now don't have because you are sitting here with us. So you there is scarcity, and you had to make a choice, which ones what you will forgo. So in real estate, there is also scarcity. If there are too many buyers, we have too few homes. Then the prices will go up, and irrational exuberance also ensues. So so the scarcity is the property, and the demand is from the buyers. Then because of that competition, the prices of the property, as far as real estate is concerned, will go up. Can we just any comments, any inputs, any can we get maybe have a conversation? I can see that today we have new participants in the form of Jonas. Is Jonas here? Jonas, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Hello,
Hi.
yes. Today I see that we have Jonas and Martha joining us. If my records are correct, I think yesterday you were not with us.
No, actually, I came late, around 7:30.
Oh, okay. All right. No, that's fine. Do you have any contribution that you'd like to make to this conversation before we jump into or anyone? Let me not just put Jonas on the spot. Martha, were you with us yesterday? Hello, Martha. Oh, we've lost Martha. Okay. All right. Anyone, any takers? Or it is quite clear? It's a concept that the class understands.
Yeah, it looks clear.
All right. No, that's fine. We have another group activity. Yesterday we parted where we indicated that we will inform you of the various groups that you will be working in, and I think we'll try and look at LMS, that if we can't try and set up groups if LMS allows us to do, or what we can do then in the groups. You can appoint a group leader who will actually upload the work on your behalf. So looking at our participants, what we've grouped, we have Abongile. Group 1 is Abongile, Alex, and Matsidiso.
Abongile Alex Matsidiso.
Yes. Well, what we'll do after the class, we'll also share it on our WhatsApp group that was created yesterday. And then group 2, we have Dimakatso, Kani, and I'm not sure if Edwin is with us today. Yesterday we struggled to connect to Edwin. Okay. Group 2 is Dimakatso, Kani, and Edwin. And then group 3 is Patricia, Octavia, and Jonas. Patricia, Octavia, and Jonas. Okay. I'm not sure if Ernest and Debo managed to join us today at the beginning of the class. They were not there. Are they with us? Ernest and Debo? Moses, are you able to check if we have Ernest and Debo in the group? Okay, it's so silent in here. Guys, can you still hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
we
all
can
right,
hear you. We can
good.
hear
Yes.
No,
you,
that's
Mr.
fine.
Witness.
Okay,
We can
thank
hear you.
you, thank you. All right, in the groups that I've just mentioned, the group activity goes as follows. You will need to discuss the following questions. What do you understand about the terms scarcity and choice? So you'll just need to do like a small paragraph on what is your understanding of what scarcity is and what is choice. And the next question, which areas of real estate are currently regarded as scarcity? So we will need to do some kind of research in there. So we will need to look at this current point in time, what is scarce, what are people looking for and they are not finding. You know, people are struggling to pay their bonds. You know, what does that mean? Um, as much as we know that at this point in time, as Danny mentioned yesterday, that banks are not really that excited to be repossessing homes because, you know, there is not really a big market to buy those repossessed houses. But what is currently scarce? What is it? Are they rentals or is it rentals? So let's just do our research and then we try and and understand what is currently happening in the real estate market. And then the next question, how does supply and demand affect the concepts of scarcity and choice? So please, we would like to get your understanding of what this means in your understanding. And then the last one is, how does scarcity apply to property in different price ranges? For instance, the 150,000 to 350,000 range compared to the 1.2 million to 1.5 million range. So what is happening in the way, you know, for in the 150,000 rand area price ranges? What is there scarcity? What is happening in there? And then in the upper ranges of about 1.2 million to 1.5 million, how is that affected? So if you can go back, if you remember yesterday, we spoke about the sources of data. So if you can just go back and look at those various sources that we spoke about, this information, you will be able to find it. So if you can, this calls for some kind of research as much as we've discussed the concepts, but now we need to do the application side and look at what is currently happening at this point in time. Any questions? Yes. Hello.
We can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
No, you can go ahead. We can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. No
We can
questions.
hear
It's
you.
clear.
Yeah.
Hello, Nomisa.
Yes.
Dimakatso, I want to know when are they due, the activities?
Okay. By the end of this week, we would have finished module 1. So I think when we actually circulate the program, we will give you the dates on this on when are they due.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we haven't finalized the date, but by when we send out the timetable, we'll actually communicate all the dates that are applicable.
Okay, thank you.
All right then. Thank you. Right. Then we move on to another concept, which is called inflation and interest rates. What is inflation? Inflation refers to a general rise in the level of prices for goods and services over a period of time. It is measured by calculating the percentage rate of change of a price index, such as the consumer price index, which is usually the weighted average of many prices. So basically, this consumer price index is more is like a basket of goods that are currently available in the market. So when the State SSA calculates this, they look at the prices of everything: the transport costs, your housing, your the health sector, food, education, communication. So all these prices come into this basket, and then we look at the weighted average, and that gives us your consumer price index. So basically is the level of rise, the changes in the consumer price index. An increase in the purchasing power of people leads to an increase in demand for goods and services, which leads to an increase in general price levels. Hence, inflation will increase due to an increase in GDP. So where there is growth in GDP, basically it means you have a very healthy economy that is growing and everything. So usually what will happen, you will see that it's either more people get jobs, so means more people have income to actually spend on the market. And also companies will probably be giving out increases or bonuses. Therefore, the purchasing power increases also due to that. Effectively now, because there is demand, like the principle we've just discussed earlier. So as the demand increases, the prices also will go up because of huge demand. And so the basket, the weighted average of these goods increases, and that's what results in inflation. So as you can see in here, the GDP growth. So as the GDP increases, effectively it increases, and you can see here inflation starts increasing as well. Starts increasing. Oh, sorry. Okay, so your inflation increases, and then what we will also discuss later on, then how do we manage inflation such that it goes down, and then it also reduces the growth in the economy. There are different kinds of inflations. There is demand pull inflation. This is caused by increases in combined demand due to increased private and government spending. It is constructive to a faster rate of economic growth, since the excess demand and favorable market conditions will stimulate investment and expansion. So this is from a demand point of view. So when demand for goods and services exceeds production capacity, therefore that's what we would call a demand pull inflation. The next one is called the cost pull inflation. This is caused by drops in combined supply due to increased prices of inputs. So for an example, here you have a vendor that sells balloons. The price of balloons has increased, but what has caused this? One of the inputs into a balloon is the helium, which you use to inflate the balloons. When there is a shortage of supply of a particular product, as we had earlier on, to try and curb your demand, the prices go up because people are looking for this, but there is a lot of competition in actually purchasing this. This explains where we say that it is caused by drops in combined supply. So because of this input cost into the balloon, therefore eventually the cost of selling a balloon also goes up because of the helium. So it's not necessarily the string or the actual balloon, but it is the gas that is used to inflate the balloon, which is an input into the final product. The other kind of inflation is called built-in inflation. This is when employers pass higher costs due to wage increases onto consumers as higher prices. So when labor unions go to the bargaining council and they negotiate wage increases, that cost is not absorbed by the employer of those laborers or the salaries. This is then put as an input cost into whatever product that is eventually produced by this particular company, and it is passed on to the consumer. So that is called built-in inflation. Any questions on inflation before we move on to interest rates? Okay. What are interest rates? Interest rate is a fee that is paid on borrowed capital. So when you actually borrow money from the bank, you'll be charged interest rate because the bank could have used its money for something else. They could have invested the money in the stock market, bought some shares to actually try and grow their money, but then they forego that particular option and then they give the money out. So you still need to compensate the bank for them allowing you to use their money. The fee, as I've just said, is compensation to the lender for foregoing other useful investments that could have been made with the loaned money. These foregone investments are known as opportunity costs. Low interest rates put more buying power in the hands of consumers. So what that means is that when interest rates go down, it means that, for an example, if you have a bond, your repayments, the money that you pay on repaying the bond is reduced. Therefore, the amount that is reduced by, you can buy other things, which you were not able to do earlier on because of the high interest rates. When more money is spent in the economy, prices go up, naturally creating inflation, which is exactly what we've just discussed. What are we in South Africa? We have a concept called inflation targeting. What is inflation targeting? Inflation targeting was instituted in South Africa in the early 2000s, and the South African Reserve Bank is tasked with keeping consumer price index between 3 and 6%. So in South Africa, we try and make sure that we don't have hyperinflation by controlling, making sure we manage our inflation in the market between 3 and 6%. Anything higher than that, then the Reserve Bank is tasked with actually putting in place measures to control that. So the Monetary Policy Committee in the Reserve Bank is the team that actually is responsible for doing this exercise of managing. And this concept is called inflation targeting. And so basically what we do, we use interest rates to manage and influence the inflation rate in our country. How does this inflation targeting work? The theory is that if inflation increases, the South African Reserve Bank Monetary Policy Committee raises interest rates, which is the repo rate. Repo rate is the rate at which the Reserve Bank lends out to the commercial banks. This, in return, diminishes consumers' disposable income as available as more money is spent on paying off debt. This will then see recorded inflation levels decline. So what happens in here, if you look at the diagram below, is that the Monetary Policy Committee will see that the inflation as measured by Stats SA in the form of the CPI is beyond 6%. So what they will do, they will increase the interest rates. So they will increase their repo rate as the Reserve Bank, and immediately when that happens, then the commercial banks also increase. The commercial bank increase the lending rates, where the rate they use to charge me and you as the general public when we actually borrow from them. And usually what happens is when the interest rate increase, people will look at it as a form of, the economy is becoming riskier, and people hold on to their money just to monitor what is happening. And in a way, because there is, the expectation and confidence in the market becomes a little bit unpredictable, and investors might not know what is happening. So, in a way, it constricts demand, because you're not sure what is going to happen. And also what happens is that when interest rate increase, the currency also, the exchange rate is also influenced. The rand will deteriorate, for an example. And when the rand deteriorates, it means our import prices, because we will have to pay in a foreign currency, when we actually import. So in a way, what if you had 100,000 rands, and the exchange rate, for an example, was $10 $1 is equal to 10 rand. So when the repo rate is increased, it means that then the exchange rate will also deteriorate, probably move to about 15 rand, and that way you can't buy the quantities that you could. So in a way, the demand decreases. So as you can see in here, the total demand will be influenced, and eventually, because there is not that much demand and spending in the economy, the inflation actually deflates because of that particular repo rate increase. The goal of low and stable inflation is the primary objective. This is believed to support economic growth and stability. Our current inflation rate is sitting at about 4.7% in the country. Any questions on inflation targeting? How it works?
I'm just interested, but I'm not sure if will I be correct to say this concept of inflation targeting, it revolves around the debt, right? Am I correct to say that? Because I see
Yes.
it's more about controlling the repo rate, which is the price at which the bank borrows money to other banks and other institutions. So does that mean,
Yes.
of course, this is imaginary, does that mean if we had an environment which does not have debt at all, we wouldn't have such
Okay.
a concept of inflation targeting? Maybe is that even ideal? Can we say maybe having debt helps our country in terms of economic management and all of that kind of stuff?
Okay. How we came, how South Africa looked at how, what are the contributory factors, when we actually spend and result in in increased inflation, how are we spending? So it's about you understanding your particular market. So if in South Africa we are a highly indebted country, so that's what our spending is funded a lot by debt. You understand what I'm saying? But then it doesn't necessarily mean if we are debt free, then you will need to look back at what is the contributory factor or the root cause. How are people spending? What is causing the inflation to go up? I'm not sure if it makes sense. Yeah. So you need to understand. So we can go into another country where the population is not highly indebted, but then something else triggers their inflation. So you manage the root cause of your particular inflation.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
yeah. So it's about understanding your economy and your market as a country for you to say, this is how we're going to manage our inflation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Asmis.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hanglo it's Alex here. Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Alex.
I wanted to try and think what would happen in an ideal country where the debt is not as high as ours. What would happen to inflation, interest rate, and the Reserve Bank borrowing? How would that affect the country, the people? And if let's play with two scenarios where there is minimal debt and no debt. How would that impact the country and the people?
All right. As much as there is no debt, for an example, it means that people are funding they are spending from their own savings and their own disposable income. But remember as well, there is the other concept. If you look down here, expectation and confidence. When you increase interest rates, also people feel that the economy is unstable. The confidence is dented. So even if you're using your own money, you will want to hold on to your own to the money and not necessarily spend, because you're like, okay, if interest rates are becoming unstable, what does it mean for me and my investment? Should I be spending my money, or should I hold on to it until I see stability? You understand that? So it's more if you are spending your own money, you are more of an investor. So you take your money and invest it in other things. That is your way of spending. But then when interest rates go up, you're like, okay, let me keep my money. So investors, when they see interest rates fluctuating, they feel uncomfortable and feel that there is instability in the economy, and then they hold on to their money, and the spending doesn't happen. And when the spending doesn't happen, inflation goes down.
Okay, my next question is interest rate. Is there a link between interest rate that is on borrowed money and interest rate on say on things that are purchased? Because if I stand to be, if I'm not wrong, there are foreign investors who look for places that have kind of like high interest rates so that they can invest their money, so the returns come back higher.
Yes.
So now, is there a connection between borrowed interest and interest on stuff that is produced?
Yes. You are actually correct in that, because investors, especially direct foreign people who are coming from other countries where their own interest rates are low, they will want to put their money into a country where the interest rates are high. But then the proportion of the people who invest vis-a-vis the population, or what can you say, the South African population versus the people who actually come, the South African, what the condition or whatever is happening in South Africa as the economy, how do I put it? The activity influenced by South Africans is far much higher than the activity influenced by those individuals coming from foreign countries. Does that make sense? So as much as it's working in the opposite direction, but the net effect is still going to be influenced more by the activity influenced by South Africans.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any more comments or questions?
Just a comment.
All right.
I see it's more on economics. Ooh,
Yes.
some of us with economics is going to be rough here.
And that's why we are here, so that we try and smoothen out the path. So we are available if you would like, probably a one-on-one, but I think it would be, what can I say, beneficial to everyone if you just ask the questions and we try and explain it as simple as we can.
Yes.
But if you feel you would like to have a separate one-on-one session, we can also arrange that.
Noted.
Yes. So we have the group. So if we need an extra class, probably for individuals who find the concept, it's foreign. It's not difficult. It's just foreign. So other people have done this before through their studies. Others haven't. But it's not a difficult concept. It's just a concept that is foreign to some people based on their career paths. So if you feel, you would like that to be arranged, then we're more than welcome.
Sorry, Nomisa, I can just mention that you will not be writing an exam on literally everything you hear. Nomisa is going to tell you here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this is general knowledge that you must know.
Yeah. And I think the reality is that as an investor, you need to understand where you put your money and why you are putting your money, when you make those decisions. So, and of course, they are expecting this, but also you need to be comfortable, to be conversant. You might not know how to calculate the numbers, but at least you have a general understanding if you're going to be a developer, if you're going to be an investor. Imagine being an estate agent that shares this kind of information with your clients, the value add, your competitive edge that comes with understanding these things, and sharing it with your clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we won't go into detail. For example, this diagram that I've included is for illustrative purposes, but I will not ask you to tell me, exactly what I've just said, but it's useful to understand it. It makes for good dinner conversation as well. When we used to go out for dinner. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any more? But please, if you feel that you would like to have a one-on-one session, or like we organize a few individuals and we have another session, and then probably you submit your questions and I try and unpack it further, I'm more than willing to do that.
Oh, thank you for that.
Okay. You are most welcome. All right. Can we move on now? All right.
For sure.
Okay. We also move on to, we have a group activity that's going to look at just touch at high level. Like Rina said, the activity doesn't take you very deep into the concept, but like I said, it will be nice for you to understand it just for your own, development. So the question is that, what is the inflation rate in South Africa at the moment? So that is readily available. The Reserve Bank will give that. And how does the inflation rate affect the interest rates? We've just discussed that. And how does the interest rate affect real estate? We've discussed it, but you can do further research on that. The information is available. What is the future prospects for inflation and interest rates? Judging from the extract provided above. Okay, we will share, this will be shared with you, the extract on this activity 8. Okay. All right, so in your groups, as indicated earlier, if you can cover that for us and just do a short write-up, and you'll be good to go. Another concept that we'll be touching on is what we call there's something in the real estate market. Like any other industry, it is cyclical. Sometimes we have a buyer's market, sometimes we have a seller's market. What do these concepts mean? A buyer's market is a situation where supply exceeds demand. So meaning the supply of real estate exceeds demand. Prices are relatively low and buyers therefore have an advantage. So because the prices are low and the demand, there is excess supply, there's an opportunity also to be negotiating because, there are fewer buyers, but there is a lot of stock out there in the market. And then the sellers market is a market in which sellers prosper because there is a strong demand for their goods or services. Therefore, pushing up their prices, they can demand for those goods or services. There are fewer people. It's like where you are a seller and everybody wants, there is fewer stock, but there are many people looking for the stock that you have. Then that way you sell to the highest bidder. You can manage to push up your prices, and people, because of the fear of missing out, they call it FOMO. People will, if they can afford it, they will buy it at that particular price because they just can't lose out. So the buyer's market, how does it affect buyers? Buyers have more home options. You have better negotiating power. You could potentially pay lower than asking price. In a buyer's market, how are the sellers affected? It means it takes longer to sell because they are not rushing to buy the properties. You may receive fewer offers because people are making, like this, the buyers are making offers somewhere else, not necessarily to the same group of sellers. You may have to accept lower than asking prices, pay seller concessions, or make repairs in order to sell. This is what happens, when you can't sell your property. You could be advised that maybe upgrade your kitchen or the bathrooms. Those are usually one of the strongest selling points in a home. So this is what happens. And then what happens, the impact of a seller's market. How does it affect buyers? The buyers are all competing to buy the small stock that is available, therefore creating competition. Important to work with a lender that can close loans quickly and be prepared to pay higher than asking prices. That's how the buyers are affected. How are the sellers affected in a seller's market? Or the home sell quickly. You have the bargaining power as the seller. Likely to receive multiple offers, so you could sell at high prices. Like I said, you sell to the highest bidder. Buyers are even willing to overlook the minor repairs, so they will not be coming and telling you that, I like your house, but if you could sort out that paving. They'd rather secure the house. They will sort it out themselves when they actually have the property registered in their names. Another concept that we need to understand, as much as we need, this course was structured more for real estate agents. So this starts on the fact that real estate and diverse and has various areas of specialization. So these various areas of specialization, how the industrial market, industrial real estate works is different than commercial, than residential. So you literally specialize. You can't just wake up and say, I used to sell homes. Tomorrow I'm just going to walk in and start doing this. You need to equip yourself and understand the nitty-gritties. The measuring units become slightly different. The commissions are not the same. So, those within real estate, there is specialization within the various areas you operate in. Estate agents in South Africa do not earn a fixed income and work only for commission, which is a fee that the seller agrees to pay the agent to market and sell their property. The fee is not prescribed. Each market has an accepted average. So how do you succeed in this sector? You need to make sure you educate yourself. You need to be professional, educate yourself. Like we spoke earlier on, that when you hold a conversation with a prospective client and you tell them, and they can hear that you're well conversant on the factors that influence the market, then people start having more confidence in you and get the feeling that so you're not just in here just to make your commission, but you're giving me properly research and research advice, and so it's a win-win situation. There is nothing that can tarnish an estate agent's reputation than, even if as a buyer, it's your money, you need to research. But it's easy to blame the next person and say, but the estate agent didn't tell me that. So if you're going to be that estate agent that make clients comfortable, hey, you're gaining a competitive edge. You need to be professional, dealing with people's life savings. So they need to feel comfortable, because when you're professional, you send out the message that you know what you're talking about, and people can trust you with their monies. Good and knowledgeable communicators, or communication is important, and you need to have a strategy for how you work, like any business, and you network. So as an estate agent, you network, you have relationships with conveyancers, so that they can let you know in advance what pieces of legislation have changed and how that affects you. The banks, to know exactly what are the new requirements from the banking sector, architects, so everyone in the built environment. So you should network and understand what is happening. The municipalities, they change their requirements every now and again. So it's important that you have that ear on the ground. What's happening in municipalities? What new developments are coming? Because the municipality, the special development section of the municipality will know what's coming. So this is the information you can share with your clients in advance, and you must be available. They should be able to communicate with you all the time. And then our group activity as far as real estate market is concerned. This is another activity. So in your groups, you need to answer the following questions. Do you currently have a buyer's market or a seller's market? Please provide 3 examples why you believe that. How does inflation affect the real estate market? How does interest rate affect the real estate market? How does each of the following factors influence the real estate market? So you will have to provide an overview. So what is the socio-economic environment? You're looking at your issues of crime, the transport infrastructure and the likes, the political environment. How does it affect real estate? The technological environment, competitive environment, and the legal environment. So we can go back to that pestle analysis we were looking at, and to try and come up with your answers. But further research is always encouraged to come up with proper, and also educate yourself as well. Any comments or questions before we move on to our next section?
I just have a question.
All right.
With regards to the seller's market and the buyer's market, do they have seasons, or you always have to be watching the issue of interest rates and inflations and so forth? Because you tend to hear people saying, now it's the seller's market, but when you look around, a lot of people are not there. Or it's a buyer's market now, but you find that the way you say it, it's not what is happening. So do they have seasons, or you always have to be looking at this interest rate and inflation? Because those are one of the factors that affect it, obviously.
Yes. You need to watch what is happening in the economy. So it's not like beginning of the year it's going to be a buyer's market. So it's basically you need to watch the activities, what is happening in the economy. You could have a buyer's market that would last a couple of years. You could have a buyer's market that lasts a couple of months. So it's basically what is causing people to sell, what is influencing the prices, because usually it's the prices that affected affordability. For an example, things like legislations like your National Credit Act, how did it affect affordability of houses? And with the introduction of the National Credit Act, the banks were not lending recklessly, so fewer people could afford to qualify for the a loan. So that means you diminish your demand. And what happens when there is diminished demand? It means that there is a lot of stock in the market. So those are the things. It's just watching what changes are happening that are affecting real estate.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I answered you.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not.
No, Miss.
Yes.
Maybe just to add also, sometimes it's area specific. In a sense, I mean, we have seen areas like Rustenburg. When the mines get affected, automatically the real estate market there becomes heavily affected. So different areas, it may not necessarily be the same across the country. Different areas would have different economic seasons that are happening there. So those are some of the effects so let me say the economy of the area matters. What's happening in the economy, people losing their jobs because of maybe the mining sector is not doing well, or because there's something that has happened maybe in the mine, that particular area, that affects, especially in the mining towns. We have seen that happening over and over. Then you see the property sector becomes highly affected. Most of the houses are left. Those who had big flare units, I mean, in Rustenburg, there were lots of houses that were left. People started building a lot. But when people had to move out and go to the nearby rural areas because the mines were not necessarily doing well, the units that were there in town, most of them were left without rentals and all those. So that's something to also look at, instead of just looking at it as a global thing across the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Moses. And I think also even in an area, it's also the type of housing as well. For an example, you'll find that estate living, it is more a seller's market because there is high demand, but standalone houses are experiencing a different kind of a market. You know, there is not a lot of demand. People are actually letting go of their standalone, crime being one of the biggest factors. So even in a particular area, the types of the types of units that are selling are different, you know. So I agree, Moses, that, you know, yeah. And so it's a whole host of things that go into this thing.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, even the whole issue of student accommodation, next to the university, the houses that are there, you find that the market are abnormal because people are not buying houses for normal stay. They are now buying for student accommodation. So what the kind of rental you would get with student accommodation versus what you could get for normal rental, it's higher. So people will end up buying those houses rapidly, simply because they just want to convert them to student accommodation. That can affect some of these forces. You will see them happen because of that in the particular area close to universities. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any more comments?
Hi, this is Mumisa.
Yes.
Just to add on that, I think this issue also, or matter, it also relates to this. Here in Mamelodi, there's an area called Kodi 17, Section 17, in Mahube. There, for the longest time, we've been having strikes, people protesting. That now you have people from the houses, because there in 17 you have newly built houses going all the way to next to Moloto Road. There's a new development that's happening there. And then just behind, next to those people, there are shacks. People just erecting shacks there. And now you have a commotion between the people having bought their houses and and also the people that are having shacks, because the people with the houses are clashing with those ones with the shacks because they're saying they are taking their house values down. And as the result, people from the houses are selling their houses and leaving their place because of that whole commotion, having shacks staying next to them.
Yeah. No, that's correct. That is correct. Yeah, it's different areas with different strokes, but it is true. You know, the activities that are taking place in an area highly influence what is going to happen in that particular area as far as buying or selling of property or general real estate. All right, thank you. Any more comments? Okay. Right. What we'll cover, we'll move on to the real estate stakeholders. This is a rather short section. So basically, it's just to highlight the various players in the real estate environment. So in this one, it's more about researching, understanding, just for you to know that clear description, what is a buyer. So these are individual activities. What is a buyer? What would you consider to be a seller? What do you consider to be the difference between a principal agent and an agent, and what is a financial institution? So basically, so this one is more working on your own, just to research and find out what are the various stakeholders. We've highlighted the stakeholders. You just need to provide us what are the descriptions of those various stakeholders. And then the next exercise is more trying to match, what is an auditor? There are definitions under column highlighted as definition. So you just match a stakeholder with what is their description. For an example, an auditor. On the definition side, we have under C, a person registered in terms of the Public Accountants and Auditors Act of 1951, whose function in an estate agency context is to ascertain whether or not an estate agent's trust account has been properly managed. So basically, it's just this is how you will get to understand the various stakeholders working in there. What is a bondholder? What is a conveyancer? What is body corporate? So we will not be giving you those definitions, but we encourage you to research on it.
Ndombela rezo dzimafini dzisongoliwa ndikotombela ndikoda ndadzicleana ndadziveya ndikotombela.
Okay. And then if you can think of any additional stakeholders that we haven't mentioned, for an example, we mentioned a close cooperation, a client, a nominee, a conveyancer, an offerer, and an offeree. But what else in your experience who else plays a role in if you can think of additional stakeholders that plays a role in real estate. So this calls for further research as well. So yeah. Any questions?
All good?
You're good. Okay. All right.
Good.
And another concept, as we're talking about another specialized concept within the real estate environment, as we're busy taking as stakeholders, is referral networks and multi-listing systems. What is multi-listing service? It is a system whereby a number of estate agents agree to share their listings of properties for sale on the understanding that the commission is to be shared between the listing agent and the selling agent. So, you come and affiliate or subscribe to this particular service as an estate agent. Usually what happens is that there will be that agent that will get this particular job, that, Numisa is a seller, contacts a particular estate agent. So the estate agent, can put your property into the multi-listing system, and other agents can have access to it and help you as the main agent to sell the property. So it means that your property as Numisa has more, is being shown to more people because of other agents participating in the process. On the other side, there is also that small or potential that everyone will be thinking the other person is working on it. So as much as there is the positive side that many agents could be working on it, but it could happen that everyone will just not put their effort. So the selling agent just needs to make sure that they push this particular property, but it gives you an advantage in being in there. And then an open mandate is also, so these are some of the mandates, and mandate is more like the brief that you will get in terms of selling the property. Stays in effect until it is withdrawn, or until another mandate comes into effect that conflicts with the first mandate. Another form of mandate that's in there is what we call a sole or an exclusive mandate, which can be withdrawn at any stage unless it states clearly that it is irrevocable. So the main purpose of establishing the multi-listing system, as I said earlier, is that it offers faster sales. That is the ideal situation for a property. One of the biggest groups here in South Africa is the PEK group. It has both open and sole mandates that are honored by member agencies. And the advantage of joining this PEK group is the fact that open mandates can also be listed. This means that sellers can tell 17 different agencies to market their houses by simply speaking to one agent. This open mandate with the PA group does not limit you. You can still give the same mandate to any other agency you want to work with. So it is a good system that brings everyone together, but like any other system, it needs monitoring and management just to make sure that people are actually, working on it. And I think the fact that you are going to be sharing commission as much as you didn't receive the mandate it's an advantage that you can get, or it makes the participating in this multi-listing service attractive. Any comments or questions? All right. We also have an activity, which is also an individual activity. So just please pay attention. Pay attention on how an activity is categorized, whether it is an individual activity or it is a group activity. The questions are: what is the purpose and advantages of multi-listing system? What are the possible pitfalls that you must be aware of? and what is the process to be followed in multi-listing. So I think we've touched at high level. So, but you can, we always encourage further research when you embarking on your activities, because remember, this is not just about having the qualification. It's look at it as empowering yourself to be a better and a more informed property investor. We also look at estate agents, role players. A person is an estate agent only if he falls within the scope of the definition of an estate agent in line with the Estate Agency Affairs Act. We're going to go into detail tomorrow on the Act itself. A person is a principal estate agent only if he renders an estate agency service on the instruction or on behalf of any other person. The Act distinguishes between 5 categories of estate agents. So you will have a principal estate agents, which are usually the companies, close corporations and private individuals acting as estate agents, directors of companies that are estate agents, employee estate agents. So these are people employed by principal estate agents, and you also have candidate estate agents, sometimes referred to as intern estate agents. So what you look at in here, we will unpack further how you qualify. So there are qualifications for you to actually need to obtain to get these different categorizations as awarded by the Estate Agency Affairs Board. And we also have people that are employed by an attorney that render services on their behalf. So there are various categories and there are criteria that need to be met for you to get these particular designations. And we have an activity as well in there in terms, we'll divide as far as what can intern estate agents do, which is what we call looking at as candidate estate agents. What are the requirements, and what is an intern estate agent, what they can do and what they can't do? What are the requirements in getting your fidelity certificate? And what are the requirements for non-principal agents and principal agents as far as fidelity certificates is concerned? Okay, are we still good? I know that we're pushing you. Can we push until 7?
Yes, we can.
Fine. Yes. Let's try and just cover the deeds office, and then we can take a break. And then what we will do, we'll try and restructure our lessons to try and see, how we can try, because when we present, we need to make sure that the information flows and you can get the gist of what's happening. So for tomorrow's lesson, we'll try and package it differently to make sure that at least we don't go as far as 3 hours. So now I'll just touch on what's the deeds office, and then we can call it an evening. The deeds office is established by the Deeds Registries Act 47 of 1937. It serves to regulate the functions and laws related to title deeds, to title deed transfers, as well as registration of the title deeds in South Africa. It operates in cooperation with the Office of the Surveyor General. The land registration system in South Africa is called the cadastral system, and is regarded as one of the best and most accurate systems in the world. The principles around this act is to ensure that every land portion should be able to be identified. Each portion of land in South Africa must be available on the diagram that has been drawn out by the land surveyor and approved by the Surveyor General. Each land portion can be acquired by means of registration in the deeds office, and the person to whom transfer has been passed on registration is then deemed to be the owner of the property. Registration in the deeds office is regarded as the notice to the whole world that the real right has been legally transferred to a particular person or an entity. So these things are also important so that you understand, the process of actually getting that because you only own the property once it is registered in the deeds office. So you could have made your offers. For an example, the deeds office, the process when you actually sell or buy a property usually takes about 3 months, but we saw properties taking forever to be registered during the lockdown, because now before you sell the property, you must get clearance figures from the municipality before the conveyancers can actually lodge it at the deeds office. The municipalities, those sections of the municipalities were not fully operational during the lockdown. They only focused more on the basic services like your refuse removal, provision of sewer, and also the deeds office also closed. So it was a long process, but generally you need to understand why someone must say it's too long for it to take this long to register a property. But there is a lot that happens behind the scene before your property is registered. And this process just wants to ensure that there are no comebacks. You don't pay money and the next thing someone comes and say, no, I have a claim in the property. So behind the scenes, the conveyancers are checking all these things, that there are no attachments to the title deeds that you need to deal with before you actually purchase the property. Or is this property sellable in the manner that the seller was selling it? You'll find that there is an attachment or a will, a condition of a will that is attached to a title deed. So those things are very important to understand. And then you get comfort that as much as it takes long, but it gives me surety and comfort that once I'm told my property is registered, then it is indeed my property. You won't find people suing you. So it's important for us to do that. And the deeds office, like we just we just spoke about, is what is the authority that actually issues the title deed, which is a document containing information about the property. Any member of the public is entitled to inspect a title register in the deeds registry, but only qualified conveyancers and notaries are allowed to lodge title deeds or other real rights with the deeds registry. So the overview of the deeds office is the duties of the deeds office are stipulated in the Act as mentioned earlier. The registrar is the semi-judicial office, and their decisions are still subject to the inherent powers of the High Court. So we look at the conveyancers as the production line. Like I said, that all the checks that they do in advance before they lodge, when they are preparing the deeds to finalize transactions for their clients, and then the deeds office serves as the quality control to decide whether the deeds are suitable for registrations. All the examiners in the deeds office are qualified with law degrees and they enjoy house trainings. So, like I said earlier on, that sometimes a will put an attachment on a title deed. So it is important that at least people with a background in law understand the implications of those particular, attachments that you will find in there. The chief registrar is appointed by the minister, and in each deeds office there is a registrar, which with provision for deputy registrars and assistant registrars. So these are the various sections in there. The management section and the examining section, which looks at all the stuff that has been submitted and consult with conveyancers. And then there is a strong room section, which is more your records area. So they make sure that the administration function is like lodgement are done, the microfilming. So it's basically about knowledge management and ensuring and securing the data that's in there. Yeah, I think we've also touched on this at a high level. We've already spoken about the cadastral system as well. You can read this in your own time. And then we have an activity, an individual activity as well regarding the deeds office. So what is a title deed and what does it look like? So if you can try and find a copy of a title deed so that you know exactly what is contained in there, who has access to the title deeds and how, what is a link between the title deed and land use control, what is the role of an estate agent with regards to title deeds. So it's important to also understand that. Yeah, so yeah, that's as far as we are going today. Any questions as far as the deeds, the office itself and its functioning?
No, sir. On the, you know, when we're discussing the other part as your responsibilities in terms of you being as an estate agent and so forth, in terms of commissions. You stated that there are no limits, so it's not regulated. It's based on your negotiations, if I got that part right. But now when it comes to the title deeds, in terms of the cost transfers, is that regulated? Or is it something that you'd find that the conveyancers or the lawyers would be also just costing that one? That is the first question. The second one is with regards to a real estate responsibility when it comes to you selling a house to somebody else or a property to somebody else, but you the due diligence that you have to do in terms of the rates and taxes, because you know you always find people where you would buy property. After that, then you find that the property is still owing on rates and taxes. Thereafter, it is left with a buyer of the property, and you'd find normally the municipalities are not even willing to help. They would actually pass over that debt to whoever that is staying there.
Okay.
Can I quickly come in here, Numisa? Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Let me just and then I'll hand over to you, Rina.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the commission is concerned, as much as we say it's unregulated, but there is a norm that is practiced out there in the market. It's not published or gazetted, but there is a practice in terms of what are the rates, and then I think Rina will expand on that. And then the transfers as well, they are informed. There is a way of calculating them. They are also influenced by the price of the price of the property. And I think, Rina, you can add then on the issue of the property rates and taxes, because those are some of the functions that are done by the conveyancers. When I say you look for clearance figures at the municipality, usually when you are left, I'm not sure of other cases, when you are left with when you as a buyer, you find yourself being responsible for property rates and taxes that came from the property. It's usually properties that have been repossessed, and you buy it at an auction. Then it is sold footstoots with all it says. So it's important that before you attend an auction, you do an exercise. So you get the pack in advance, and then find a way, do your investigation and try and find a way of finding out if there are any rates and taxes, so that when you calculate your purchase price, you don't find yourself at a loss and, the investment is not worth it. Rina, if you can expand on that part further. Thank you.
Okay, on the rates and taxes, Nomisa, you did very well, because there is a difference on the ordinary sales or if it's auction property. If it's an ordinary sale property, where we as an Estate Agents Act, a copy of the rates and taxes account is part of the FICA documentation that we as estate agents must get from the sellers. The copies of the IDs and the copy of the rates and taxes amount. But on the other note, there is a law to say, it's a new law, and it must be in the contract. If you buy a property and the municipality issue the clearance figures, then in the contract, in our contract, definitely it stands there to say that the purchaser is not liable for any mistakes that the municipality makes. If they want to sue anybody, then they must but get it from the sellers, not from you as the buyer. So you as the buyer must make sure that you get, as soon as transfer is going through, a copy of the wind deed. The municipalities does not work on Lightstone, they work on wind deed. We normally ask the lawyers to give it to us, a wind deed report to prove that property is being registered on your name and what date, and then you go to the municipality and register the rates and taxes account on your name. Unfortunately, if it's an auction property, you as the buyer are liable for the rates and taxes. But if you must, as a buyer, make sure that you sign that whatever mistake the municipality makes, it's up to their account, not for your new account, because there is a law covering you for that, and it is in the Consumer Protection Act.
Thank you.
Okay. About the fees for the lawyers, there is regulated fees. Some lawyers ask a little, there's a fee bracket. So they ask in between those brackets. We as estate agents normally, we are using the UBA system to see what is the lawyer registration and bond fee. But then we always say just add a 5,000 Rand just to make sure that you are in that bracket range. You will eventually get some change.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that I can add on there, or anything to add to the question?
No, I think I'm covered.
Thank you, Rina. Any more questions before we wrap up today in terms of what we've gone through? Any further questions or comments? Okay. Before we wrap up, I would like to leave you with some homeworks. Can you just do a small exercise just to understand, for an example, in the respective areas that you live in? Just check for us, I think the conversation we had with Moses, what is happening in your respective areas as far as the kind of units, if it's what is selling? Is it residential property? What type of residential property? How is commercial real estate around your area, and if there's any industrial real estate, so that tomorrow you can give us just a high-level overview of what you found, what type of units are prevalent in your area, what is selling, or what people are looking for. We know that, we have different, we're in a different space, but just find information about your areas. And then tomorrow, before we start, or tomorrow, we're going to have a presentation from our town planners. And then before we commence with our work, we will give each and every one an opportunity to just talk for about 2 minutes and give us a brief on what's happening in your area where you reside in. Did we all get the brief for tomorrow?
Can I quickly also add
Yes, we did.
something?
Okay.
Can I quickly add something? Mr. Munasi informed me that he has updated the system. So please check if you can get the slideshow on the system. If you can't get it, WhatsApp me individually so that we can try to sort you out, please.
Okay. Right. Any closing comments? Moses, something on your side? Okay. Dandy,
I'm
are
good,
you still
thanks.
there? Okay, thanks.
I'm good, thanks.
Dandy?
I have the right to remain silent. Today I was just being a good student and listening and gleaning. But yeah, I really enjoyed the lecture. Would it be possible to write the assignment that you've given to everyone, either circulate it either on email, WhatsApp, or
Okay. No, I'll do that.
I don't know if the group that was suggested has already been started. Yes, I think that would be great.
Yes.
And perhaps if it is worth maybe also just extending I like pragmatism. I like the idea that we could be as practical as possible. And when we're speaking of the title deed, the first thing that comes to mind is the notion that every single property that is listed or that is registered, one can access. At what point do we give people either the tools or the access? So in other words, some of you are even now are busy buying properties in the way you know traditionally how. And all of that. I know as part of the practical experiences, it would still come, but I think it might be a good space now to just highlight some of the toolbox used to access either ownership information, contact numbers, and all of that. So that's the kind of, right now, that's the one thing that comes to mind when we talk of title deeds.
Okay.
Then I suggest that as soon as we finish with the first module, like tomorrow, as we can also share then all that practical websites where they can go and have a look.
All right.
Because
so
there's more to come tomorrow.
All it means is between now and tomorrow, Octavia, I see she still has her hand raised. It sounds like she's about to buy a property. So between now and tomorrow, don't buy any property until you have you are able to do, even if it's just your desktop valuations of property before you could buy or anything like that. But I think there are really some serious powerful tools that are key, and I'm glad that it's part of something that people would get in the early stages of the development.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dandy.
Can I just add on to Mr. Dandy's point there? I think being practical, myself coming from a construction industry, we like being practical. You know, based on the homework that we've been given for tomorrow as well, yes, it is an issue of doing research and all of that, but looking at the profiling system that we do here when we're dealing with real estate, you know, the tools of trying to find out what is happening in this area, where I am and so forth, maybe some sort of guidance to say which are those tools that are actually used in the real estate to understand a particular area. I don't know if I make sense.
No, it does make sense. Nomisa, Property 24, can we do that?
Yes, Property 24, private property, and so you even if Property 24, because now it's just a short exercise. We're not going into detail into the tools. You'll just talk for 2 minutes just to understand what's happening in your area. So you can you can even go to Google and just state real estate Mamelodi. You can
We can quickly share a screen with Property 24 and we can show them.
Okay, all right, let me stop. Let me stop sharing then. And then okay, you can share, Rina.
Can everybody see this site? It is the most common one, I think, Property 24. So if you can put in here, it's properties for sale. This is what we're looking for. And which area are we going to target? Mamelodi. Mamelodi East, Pretoria. And we say property type, we would like to have houses. Prices between, say, 400,000 and 1 million. Doesn't matter the bedrooms, you say search. Now this is the properties that comes up that is for sale in that area, specific area. But to go to see more property trends, do you see this? You must put in the specific suburb as we did. You see Mamelodi East trends. You click on that, see more property trends. This is the information received from the deeds office, this first two. We did say only houses. Now, if you play with your mouse, you don't even click, you just go up there. Then you will see in this specific area for the year 2020, the average selling price was 288 to 90,000. The properties that's currently in the market, it is this column, and there the red is the new, it's 15 in the market, 104 is total in the market. Then your average selling price there, average selling price for everything is 1.8 million. The 2 bedrooms, it's 620, and the 3 bedrooms goes for 739. So this gives you an indication of what is in the market. This is the total that's in the market, and they, for what reason, there's no stable owners or recent buyers. So this specific area must be pretty much a new area, I'll say. I don't know that area very well, but maybe who's staying there can help us. Let's pick Clarina. There you will see different properties. If you look at property trends there as well, it can show you. You see the difference? 735. This is the registrations at the deeds office. 500. This is the sectional type. This is the flats. 505,000. What's in the market? 28. Total in the market, 251. But now the 2 bedrooms, the average, 1.306. But this is what I want to show you. As developers and as agents, as agent, we are looking for our target market for the specific area. If somebody calls you and say they want to sell this property, we must know where are we going to advertise this property. Now, if you look at this pie chart, the recent buyers, it's between the age of 18 and 35, and it is in total 48.5%. So you will know if you either want to do a development here or you want to sell a development here. This is your target market that you're going to target, and your layout and your architect plans, everything for this specific area. This is your flats, and this is your townhouses, because your second buyers, when they sell and they buy again, would like townhouses and duplexes. So meaning you can make money out of it, but you must be very careful. But you can do flats here anytime. Sellers is your blue range, is this 36 to 49, meaning they move on to more to residential one type of houses. It's like what we spoke yesterday, how they move from one area to another area. They sell and they buy. Stay. Stay. So this is how you read your area by this.
Oh, thank you.
Does this give you a little bit of indication?
Yes, it's perfect.
Yeah,
yes.
And then you can also go there and you can say properties for sale, private sellers. You can go to Property 24, it's got a list for private sellers, Zap Media, Sell My House Online, Quick Buy Properties, Sell My House. Gumtree is a big one that we use quite often for the private sellers. Ads for private sellers, you see. So you go there and you, there you can see. Depends what you're looking for. You can go down Kempton Park. This is a nice one. Contact the seller, and there's the seller. Then you can put in here, you're an estate agent and you would like to assist him in selling his property, and send it to him. This one is in Johannesburg. This is just two sites that you can go and play with. Let's see how many is there. Edenvale. This is a bargain, actually, I think. It's a townhouse for sale in Edenvale. Dandy?
Yes?
Your speaker, please. Okay, so this is, any questions on this?
No, I think I'm covered.
No, I'm covered as well.
Yeah. Okay, but if you've got any problems with this, we will go through it a few times to help you at the end of the day, because this is the practical, as you said. Okay. Misa, thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Rene. And as I've said, we've come to the end of our session today. Thank you, everyone, for making the time. Really appreciate it. We know it's very late in the day, but we really appreciate you making the time to come and engage with us. And we hope we are making a difference in your lives and empowering you as you came here with certain expectations. Like we said at the beginning, we really appreciate your feedback. Like you spoke about the duration of the lectures. So this is supposed to work for both of us, You need to learn as much as you can, and we try and make sure that the environment is as conducive as it can be. On that note, last round, any comments, questions before we close off? Is everyone fine?
Numisa, there's Dimagazo. Just
Yes,
one question for Mr. Matamela.
Okay.
In this group, I think almost all of us, we are interested in developing, and even for state agents or for the mentees. So last time when we did the training, the free training, then you guys announced that there's competition running for Mr. Matamela to be 6 months mentorship with Mr. Matamela. So I would like to know the feedback on that, if it's still up for grabs or is someone someone who's got it maybe. If not, what are the terms and conditions of the competition if it's still up for grabs?
All right, maybe if I can answer that, Mr. Kabelo here.
Yes, please go ahead, Kabelo. Thank you.
Hi, Dimakato.
Hi, Kabelo.
So the person is not chosen as yet. I'm just going to give you the specific dates of when we are going to announce what, because there were a lot of prizes that we said that are up for grabs. Let me just find my calendar here. Just 1 second.